Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and you're listening to this, everyone, on Christmas Day. So for those who celebrate, Merry Christmas.
Yes, or not. If you're like me and don't listen to podcasts on Christmas, maybe you're listening to this
Yes, that's true.
afterwards.
You may not be listening to this. Well, we could still, but even if they hear it, at least they know we wished it to them on the day.
That's right. So we wish you a Merry Christmas if that's what you celebrate, and Happy Holidays if you celebrate something else. This is our final episode of the year. We're going to take our traditional Christmas break, holiday break, and then we'll back for season 8 next year.
Yes.
A lot of good plans.
But it would have been the most perfect time for us to do Civil Gore Takes Manhattan, but no longer in New York.
We're still going to do it. We're still going to do it somehow. We're going to figure it out.
We'll still do it.
Yeah, or we'll find another film with an 8th entry, and we'll do it that way. But yes, so we have a fantastic episode this week. We are talking about a film called Secret Santa, which was our last holiday pick for the year. And we have a wonderful, wonderful interview with the Addams family, who you best know as the family of filmmakers that made the fantastic Hellbender. And they're back with their new movie, Where the Devil Roams. We had a fantastic interview with them. Normally, we try to pair the movie featured with the interview, but in this case, we had promised we were going to do a Christmas movie for the end of the year, so we did that. But I think you guys are going to love this interview. It's a good, long, lengthy interview, and they're always fantastic to have on because they have such a great insight into the filmmaking process and all that. And I think you guys are going to love this one.
Yeah, and we could have obviously, you could have said, well, you could have done it another week, but really they're going from festival to festival, and we actually scheduled this a while ago to make sure we could get to talk to them on there because we just absolutely love talking to them. They're like just such awesome people, but so we didn't want to, obviously, just because of the time period, we're like, well, we're not changing the format. We just want to get them on the show. We want to talk about talk to them regardless if it's in theme or not.
Yep. All right, so let's get right to it. We have a very small first chop. All right, Brian. So I didn't have a chance to watch a lot of Christmas movies because I was watching Where the Devil Roams and I was watching Secret Santa for this episode, so I didn't get a chance to really watch anything. And I'm trying to wrap up work. I'm about to take a week and a half off, so you're scrambling to try to get all your work stuff done before you go on vacation.
Holidays are there's so much stuff between your work things wrapping up for breaks and for like family and gifts and everything. There's just too much stuff.
It gets crazy. I didn't have time to watch that, but I did get some time to play a few rounds of Final Girl. So this is gonna be kind of a board game centric first chop. But
I know that both first chop.
I've got the entire first season of Final Girl, which we talked about on last week's episode, and I got season 2. I'm slowly getting those modules one by one. If you guys don't know, Final Girl is a solo-only board game in which you play the final girl against various horror movie villains, and you're trying to rescue victims and survive. And I decided to do this kind of a campaign. It's not an official campaign, but I decided to do this thing where I would go through each of the modules one by one. I've never kind of done that. I've always played them kind of hit and miss and kind of go through. And what I was doing is I'd randomly pick a final girl, and I said if I lost the game, they would be dead. Like, that final girl's dead. She's out of the picture. I like that. But if she survives, she gets to go to the next movie. So I thought I would take the surviving girl and bring her into the next module. So that's what I did. I played the first set, which is Hans, the butcher, is the villain you're playing against, and kind of a Camp Crystal Lake knockoff. And I lost twice, but finally beat him with his the actual final girl that's paired with him in his module, which is Lori.
Is that the Emily girl?
Yeah, that's that's the one that you see on the box cover, and the blonde that I always said Emily should play her if they do a Final Girl movie. I finally beat her with her. I think that's the only Final Girl I've ever beat Hans with. But
it's because we had her as Emily.
Exactly. Yeah, but the neat thing about Final Girl is you can take all the Final Girls and play them in any of the modules. So even though they might come with one set, you can play them in any of the sets. So it's kind of cool that way. But yeah. That was
meanwhile, I'm building up my like boxes of these things with yet to play one game yet because I haven't had a chance. But hey, I also got as an early gift. I got the vehicle miniatures from season 1.
Oh yeah. So it's a cool game, and I'm looking forward to kind of going through it. I figured if I'm buying season 2 stuff already, I need to make sure I've played all of season 1 because I think I've only played my one of the modules I know I had only played once, and then there's another module that still had the shrink wrap on it I had never even opened. So I was like, yeah, I probably need to play these before I start diving into season 2. But
yeah, and we did another board game thing, and this just happened like recently. So I'm glad I got this in before we record. But of course, with my nephews and a family in here, we love playing the original Horrified, and so we were all excited to try out the Greek Monsters one. And I remember Tim had touched on it a little bit, like some of the differences, and it really is a unique version. Like, of course, I think near and dear to my heart is always going to be the Universal Monsters, just for my love of our love of the Universal Monsters. But what I like what Greek Monsters does, and I didn't ever play the American Monsters yet. I mean, I have it, I just never got to play it, and right now it's in storage still. But I had this one here because I bought that when I was out here. What I like is the different, like, of course the how to kill the monster is always unique, which is kind of neat. But I like how they added the element of where you have to find like the lair of the monster on some occasions.
Yeah, before you can
kinda
even
like that extra level.
Yeah, before you even fight them, you kind of have to track down their lair first, which I thought was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes it a little challenging, and like when we played the first 2 monsters they give us, a Basilisk and the Cerberus, and what was neat about that was like, so it's definitely, I see why they make them the easiest monsters, because we won with like plenty of time to spare. I mean, our fear meter was up, but we also had a perk being held that could knock down a fear meter thing. So we had that in our back pocket, but we had like, I think, 12 cards left when we defeated it. It was 4 of us playing, and we defeated the mod pretty. Like, it was funny. We just got lucky in one spot where we were able to like the last turn, like my nephew ended up like being able to go pick up the thing, knock the final door off, and then kill the which is the one is the Basilisk in the where you have to remove the doors, or is that the
I haven't played all of them yet, so I'm not sure which one that is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the 2 ones in this one is you have to like. Well, one you have to just lead. You have to open the gate and then lead him there. Once you get enough, once you get enough points, you have to like lead the monster in there. You have to keep like rolling to get the thing.
Yeah.
And then the other one was where you have to open the doors, and then you need 30 points worth of things. But it's neat because the 4 pieces that you use to open the door, that was the one. The 4 pieces you open the gates. That's right. You need to open that. You have those items are blessed, and you add 2 to the total of it. So the higher ones you get to place on the 4 mats and the 4 temples, you get to the better chance you have, the least points you need. So let's say you have a 6, that's really an 8. Mm-hmm. So, and you need a total of 30, including the ones that are on the 4 temple sites. So it's really neat. And of course, if you like Greek monsters, you get that kind of lore in there. And I think the board is just a beautifully drawn board.
Yeah, the board's really nice.
They do such a good job of board. But this one is fantastic. Like that one piece where it's like there's a massive space. It like takes up like a quarter of the board. That one, like to the right on the board, and it's just a really like fun game. So I think we're gonna up the challenge next time, and instead of adding a 3rd monster right away, I think we just pick 2 other monsters to try.
That's the great thing about Horrified is you can mix and match to adjust the difficulty to whatever audience you're playing with. So like I when we played the original, I played it with a buddy of mine that was really good at co-op games, and he was like a game expert. Like he knew board games in and out. So we always played like super hard. We'd play with like 4 monsters. But then I could take that same game and go to somebody that's never played a board game before, a cooperative board game before, and we could play it with 2 easy monsters and still have a great time. So
yeah. And you know what I like too is like I like how the characters have different things. Like the character that I played had a great perk of every time a fear meter went up, you got a perk card. Yeah. So it's like certain things that make this version easier, and certain things that make it harder. Like the lair, because there's 4 layers, and if you have 2 monsters, like we actually inadvertently made it a little challenging because we had 4 layers to flip over to see which lair it is. But with only one monster needing the lair, we flipped over 2 before we found the third on our third try to find the lair. We happened to find it. So if there's a little better chance that, like, I think what they do is what's so good about this is, like, they balance out the difficulty really good.
Yeah.
So, like, so say you're playing 2 monsters with lairs. Well, now you have a 50-50 shot on each kind of thing to get it. Like, so you're going to get the lair open easier. Doesn't mean you're going to kill the monster easier. You're just going to start that open. And I think, right, one of the rules that changed, too, is, like, where you land on the space, you can, like, share back and forth now, as opposed to where you used to be able to, you could only, like, only the person that had the turn, right, could give. Now you can give and take, right? I think that's
always been in
Oh, it's always been that. Yeah. I might have been challenging it, or I may be making the original then harder.
Yeah,
you can only do it back once. But yeah, no, I like the characters different. I like that you're playing like legends. You're not playing like just like, in the other game you just play these random made up kind of character things. But here you're like Pegasus is a character you can play.
Yeah, you're like playing traditional Greek heroes.
Really, yeah, it's just really cool. I think people that, like, maybe not Universal Monster fans, which I don't know how you wouldn't be, but if you're not, like, and you've heard things about the game, definitely pick up this game. This is by far one of the best board game series, I think, that I've ever played. Yeah. I just love it so much. I really want to get that, like, on Etsy, buy the Terrified version, the one with, like, the slasher villains.
Yeah, people have made a lot of fan content that's great for it. Yeah, that would be super cool.
I'm trying to think what would be another another version that they could license, like, because you got the Greek monsters, you got the Universal monsters, you have the American monsters. Yeah, but the cryptids are kind of in there on that.
Yeah,
right?
The American monsters are all cryptids. So I don't know what
you could do, like, other monsters, like you could do another cryptid like the Nessie. I don't think there's a Loch Ness monster, right?
Yeah.
Yet.
Or if you could, you could. I'm sure there's many other cultures that have their own monsters that you could probably, certain Asian countries have really cool.
Oh yeah, like
cool monsters and demon folklore that you could use.
Well, La Llorona, for you can get that one of those. Yeah, maybe they just have international monster series, or like random.
You could even do like we were talking about like mermaids and fairies and stuff. You could almost do like a mythical monsters that have like mermaids, fairies, gnomes.
Oh yeah, or like a grim fairy tale.
Like grim fairy tale, yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. I mean, and possibilities really are endless if you think about it.
Yeah. So let's get to our interview. We watched the movie Where the Devil Roams, the latest film by the Addams Family. This one was right up my alley, as you'll hear in the interview, because it has to do with a family of basically carnival sideshows performers, and I am just an absolute sucker for that theme. I love the concept of the sideshow and the carnival, and especially this one because it's a period piece, and so it's kind of set in the time when that was like, I mean, they were on the decline, as you'll hear in the interview. They were on the decline, but it's kind of that period when that was kind of in its heyday, or had just past its heyday. So I loved the setting, I love the theme, and of course the storyline, without giving any spoilers away, is really cool as well. So I think you guys are going to love this interview. It's always a joy talking to Toby and John about their filmmaking process, and
they're just such interesting people. Like the way they take a look at their filmmaking and their art. It's like they always, one of the signature things they keep saying is how. Like, how important the look and the artistic value is, and how they always want to improve and learn and stuff. And I just think it's so cool because they're really, they are making just such amazing films. And yet, they're so down to earth about it, and it's just, I love talking with them.
Yeah, they come across as having a very intelligent approach to filmmaking, which I absolutely love. So I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and we'll take it away. Okay, guys, so after the immense success of 2021's Hellbender, we were eagerly expecting the next film from the incredibly talented Addams Family, and they delivered with their new film, Where the Devil Roams. We are excited to welcome John and Toby to discuss this amazing new film. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Hey.
welcome back, actually.
Yeah, welcome
because,
back.
Yeah.
It's good to have you guys
Great
back.
to be back. We love you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, same. We hope you like we're in Tim and my head. We're every film you have, you got to come back on.
Yeah.
Please. Okay. We're going to hold you to it. Watch out. We're going to make a stinker one day. And we're going to have to talk about it.
I don't think that's possible.
Everybody makes a stinker.
No, I watched, like I was telling you guys right before we started recording, I watched it this morning. Absolutely loved it. I mean, this theme is like right up my alley. Brian and I both love anything carnival, sideshow, circus. I mean, and especially period piece. That's even better.
Yeah, you managed to hit like every one of our checklists. Every check
mark. So obviously I was really excited to see this one. But in case there's some people out there that maybe missed our last episode that you guys were on, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and kind of what makes you unique? Because you guys are a true family of filmmakers.
Yeah, we are lucky that we get to make films as a family. We've been doing it for 12 years, right?
13.
Yep, 13, lucky 13. And we all started out together, the four of us, John, Toby, Lulu, and Zelda. We all kind of had a dream at the same time of let's make a movie. And we tried it. And if we had known what it entailed, we never would have done it. And ignorance was bliss. And, it was magic. And we were very lucky that the film was called Rumble Strips, that it was received really nicely, so it kind of encouraged us to go make our next movie. And that was very lucky, right?
Yeah, and little like trivia here. Actually, that movie was meant to be a dark Western ghost story. So our first film, we aspired to make a horror film, and it was the kids were going to be brutally killed, and Zelda was 6, and was 11 at the time. We were living on the road shooting in this great RV, and we just didn't, we just weren't ready to go there. Honestly, John just turned to me. He was really quiet, and he's like, "Toe, I just don't want to kill the kids." And I'm like, "I don't want to kill the kids either." And so it took us a while to kind of earn our comfort, I think, with making it. A horror film. But yeah, that was 13 years ago.
And our first horror film was a quick movie that we made for kicks, really, and it was called The Hatred. And we loved it. We shot it in the winter. It was a period piece, actually. It took place in the 1860s. And, we didn't have any goals except for to have fun and to see what it was like to kill a lot of people. And it only came in at 59 minutes, but we applied to some horror fests. And I remember Horror Hound let us come to their festival and show our movie. And we fell in love with the horror community.
Yeah, I will say it's like, even as a podcaster going into it, the people that we have met through the horror community is just, it blows me away how some of us, it's a very welcoming community. And, it's like, of course, you're going to have your bad eggs in there, people that are going to complain, but most of the people are so supportive on whatever you do. And, that's like, Tim and I are kind of like that anyway. We're very, we're always just like, anytime we see a new podcast or filmmaker, like, hey, you want to come on? You want to do, because it really is all together. We're all one big, like, happy family, it's like, why be otherwise, why be different than that? It's,
Yeah. And it's great because it's super inclusive. It's not very cliquey. And, yeah, it's like one of the places in the modern world where you really people embrace each other. I love it. And it's so surprising because it's a genre about death and horror and terrifying things. And yet it's incredibly supportive.
And yeah, and some of the most loving, kind, sweet people and intelligent in the world. Like sometimes it always drives me crazy. People who aren't into horror will, I think, have a chip on their shoulder that horror's just not smart, And there's a place for just horror where you don't have to think much and your heart is going to race, 50K, and that's okay. But I think that there are so many people we've met who are just the most intelligent horror critics and theologians that I've ever known.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really like, and it's what I like too is that they'll all like find their like positives to things. Yes, like I said, you'll find people that'll complain, but most of the time it's it's to the point of where they'll point out the positives. They'll point out like, well, this is the kind of horror I like. This is what I'm going to watch. Like everyone can find their own little niche in it, in the world of horror, which I love. And so that's, I mean, that's, and it starts back, when most of us were young and we got into horror because it was kind of like this, oh, it's a horror movie. So you kind of already got this community started building back then. And now that it's funny to see when it comes more mainstream now and things are like, oh, did you see this? We're like, yeah. It's like, yes, we've seen it. It's kind of funny, but so what I wanted to ask you, so after, like, of course, we absolutely loved Hellbender, and the reason we found out about Hellbender to begin with was because of the community. I saw all these people we follow just raving about it when they saw it. So I couldn't wait to see it, and we couldn't wait to see it. So when we did, of course, it blew us away. So, but with that now, like, obviously, like I know, like us, we couldn't wait for the follow-up, like the next one. So did you guys have any pressure on that because Hellbender was so well received, and did you get a little nervous, like, oh my God, we got to really deliver now again?
I think there was some pressure, sure, but the truth is we kind of don't stop. So we didn't give ourselves much time. I mean, by the time we were on the festival circuit with Hellbender, we were already gearing up to do Where the Devil Roams and collecting all the costumes and little tchotchkes and stuff on the road. And I think it's important, though, to just stretch your muscles. The way I like to think of it is kind of, how people get Rolfed and they kind of like crack their fascia of their muscles so their muscles can move freely again. That's what I think about what we did with Where the Devil Roams. Is I think we just we were trying something new. Thematically, there are similarities because we're a family, and this was a family in the film. But I think you have to go move forward boldly, and I think we did.
It was also like a trilogy. We think of like The Deeper You Dig, Hellbender, and Where the Devil Roams is a trilogy. It's a family trilogy, and I think I personally, I won't speak for Toby, but I personally feel more pressure now about what comes next. Because I didn't feel a ton of pressure with Where the Devil Roams. Where the Devil Roams really unfolded really beautifully. It was such a pleasure to make. There was not a lot of pain in making it. It was a movie that we just chased. It kind of unfolded in front of us. It was an idea that Zelda came up with, and it unfolded. I think now is more the question of like, okay. And I think one of the reasons is like what I said about rumble strips. We were so ignorant when we made rumble strips that we didn't know all the hurdles that were out there. We didn't know the mistakes that could be made. We didn't know anything, and now we're becoming a little more experienced. And that sometimes, it becomes a little hard because you're not as free.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys a little bit more about the inspiration behind the film and kind of how you came up with it. Because I know, Toby, last time you guys were on, you recommended the book Geek Love, which I absolutely loved. I'm so glad you recommended that. I'd never heard of that book, and I absolutely loved it. But this reminded me a lot thematically of
we
Geek
need
Love.
some of your wonderful creations on our set. We should have like rated it home. But I'm glad you liked it. It's a great book, right?
Yeah. So was that kind of? I mean, I guess you guys could maybe have always had an interest in that, but how did this particular idea come about?
Yeah, it really was. Zelda had been having some dreams about clowns, and she had a bit of a clown phobia from watching American Horror Story.
Oh, yeah.
Twisty, who's a great kind of clown. And so she had an idea about this family of clown performers in a carnival, but we kind of didn't want to go the clown route. We were like, oh, that might be hard for consistency when you work the way we work, which is pretty spontaneous a lot of the time. So it just kind of evolved into this story about a family of sideshow performers, and then we knew we wanted to do our music again, so that kind of informed the narrative there. But it really sparked out of Zelda's nightmares. And also another thing too, sorry. John's dad has a 1931 Chevy, which is the Chevy you see in the film, our best actress ever. And Zelda had been doing a photo shoot of like a self-portrait of herself as Bonnie and Clyde with that car.
Did you post that on Instagram? I thought that sounds familiar. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it's just so cinematic. So that kind of also like dangled a carrot in front of our
That
heads.
really got us rolling because we shot those, we put those pictures up, and And we said, oh, maybe we should make a gangster movie. And so many people were like, please make a period piece. And so it's kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. It sounds like people might be into something like that. And again, that's a good comment on the horror community. Like, they don't mind. They in fact like black and white movies. Do you know what I mean? It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
we all watch Nosferatu and many times, Frankenstein, all these old movies, Vampire. It's like, so it's one genre where you can have fun artistically and go back and shoot a black and white movie.
Yeah, and so you know what I too. This will kind of lead into my next question, but one of the things I think I find fascinating about especially the Hellbender and Where the Devil. I mean, I loved all of them, but the last two, there's this overlying like truly like, and it obviously becomes from the reality of the love your family has for each other, and it comes out in the films because like in Hellbender the mother-daughter relationship is so powerful, and in this the family aspect is so powerful, and I think that like really like just gives your films like this extra touch that becomes, especially when you find out, I like if people watch that and don't realize you're all a family too, they probably still will get that. They'll just see that chemistry. I just wanted to comment on that because it's just amazing to me to see.
Well,
Thank
thanks.
you.
We love that, and we love each other, and I'm glad it comes across.
Oh, yeah, totally. And this kind of leads into this question. So this film had a lot of like great characters in it. I mean, of course, you as the three leads there, but like, were there any other like really favorite characters that you came up with for that in there?
This is a celebration of people we know. We're in the punk rock world. We're in the acting world. We're in lots of artistic worlds, and all the people in the movie are real characters. They came, and we allowed them to kind of show us what they wanted to bring. And that was really fun for us. So I don't have a favorite character because I have to say that each of them, I love all those scenes. I love those characters. I loved editing those characters far more than I loved editing myself. So it was really fun. I think that they each brought something wonderful.
Yeah, and we had to cut some scenes too because they didn't feed the story as much as when you have to kind of whittle things down, and that was kind of heartbreaking because I love them, like Rocky, the woman who plays Rocky with all the tattoos. She is just like to me, she's like the heart of the film. She's just such a sweetie, and the way she smiles at them, and she's so kind, and we really loved working with her, and yeah, all these guys were great.
Yeah, and her and Adam, they perform at Coney Island. They have an act at Coney Island. And
oh, okay. That's
yeah,
cool.
I mean, so they're like performers. Like, we like to think of the horror circuit as the modern carny. It is a traveling carny show because it's great. It's really fun.
Yeah, Tim, you used to do that little like sideshow stuff with your brother, right? You still.
Yeah. Because I sent you guys pictures last time.
Yeah, they were great
when we did the sideshow.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He's been wanting to resurrect that. He's still got all his gaffes and stuff. So maybe one of these days we'll be able to put it on again. But yeah, we've always, me and my brother, actually my granddad used to take us to the circus, and of course I'm old enough now that sideshows were actually a thing that they still had them, and with actual live performers and stuff. And so whenever he took us to the circus, he would always take us to the sideshow, whatever we wanted to see. So I think that's where that love of that came from, with both me and my brother, was experiencing that as a kid. So I've always been into that thing. But I want to ask you guys, you mentioned the car. I'm just fascinated that you pulled off like an entire period piece and all these set pieces with just making a family film. So can you tell us a little bit like the locations and the props and stuff? And it's really fascinating when I watch your movies because it doesn't feel like you cut corners, but you can see that you keep things contained enough that you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to pull it off. There's a technique to it, but I find it fascinating because it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like you cut corners. It just feels like you somehow magically
you found the secret.
You found the secret sauce or whatever,
Yeah.
that you've pulled off this low budget movie that doesn't feel low budget. So can you talk a little bit about the kind of location of the props and things?
Well, it's just super authentic. I mean, we're shooting right now in a house where we shot some of the scenes. Where we live in the Catskill Mountains, there are just lots of old houses. And fortunately, the way John's parents and his sister, whose house we're in right now, they love old shit. So the houses are kind of furnished in a way they're already dressed for a 1930s piece. We're super lucky. The Victrola in the scene that when the banker gets killed, that's right there in John's parents' dining room.
Yeah, my dad always winds it up, and we all listen to an album while we're eating. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's awesome.
Great. So it's
Love
like,
that.
you know, not much has changed in the Catskills in some ways. There's still country roads. There's, you know, talk about getting out there and driving this car, which was a little tricky because it was, you know, not completely legal. And so, but the thing is, where we live is remote, and the chances of running into problems are light. And so we mostly, if you rewatch the movie, you'll see that we mostly drove during snowstorms when we knew nobody would be on the road.
Oh, that's well, you guys take the risks.
But it was like, you know, there's things like that. And this is a great time to mention Trey Lindsay, who's our 5th family member, because we talked to him. We were like, we want to make this period piece. When we're focused tight, it can be very authentic. Now the problem's going to be when we need to show like a little bit of depth in the circus or in the carny. Like that's going to be hard. How do we do crowds? How do we do tents in the background? And he was like, we pick our shots and we shoot them in such a way that he could paint in a background or he could paint in a town. So like there's a scene where Zelda's cutting up a doll and I tell her not to cut, you know, to make sure that she cuts through the elbow, because that's how you disambiguation and stuff like that. And we talked a lot about how can we need to show like an old town. And so what we did was when we were driving around the country with Hellbender, we just took shots of different pieces of towns and then Trey put them all together. And so we had to pick our moments to make the environment big. And if you watch the movie, I think it happens like about 5 to 7 times where we picked our moments and then we could get back into tight.
Yeah, so you can't even tell. It flows so well. Like you don't feel like it feels like you're at like one of those traveling like carnivals and circuses. It feels like, you know, just from the and what I love is that the pacing of it, just like the slow walk through the thing, you know, and you don't have hundreds of people crowd, but you don't need it. It's like it just works perfectly. The amount of people that you do have in the scenes.
Well, from the storyline, you know, it kind of seems like it's kind of a down on carnival. It's not like a super successful carnival. So I never questioned the lack of crowds because that's what the story said. I mean, that was already kind of established that, you know, this is not like a massive, it's not a big town. You're not in a massive crowd. So this makes sense for the scene. So I totally got that. Yeah.
They were failing in 1931. The carnies were failing. The movies were coming in. It was the end. You know, the Depression had just kicked everybody's ass. So it was like, it actually, when we did the research of it, it made sense. And if you look at pictures of like, if you type in 1931 Carnival, you know, New York State or whatever, they all look so broken and muddy and bad. And when we first started researching, can we do a carny? We looked up these pictures and it was like, you know what, we can definitely do a carny because they're made out of like canvas and 2x4s and dirt and mud, you know, and it was like, this is perfect, you know.
Well, yeah, and too, and you established it so well just from that, like the opening, where this Zelda kind of walks back from the store through everything. I love that sequence because it just kind of gives you a nice, like, just like almost soothing, like intro to the world you're getting into.
Right.
And I think you guys just have such a natural talent for it. It's like you could almost tell that. I'm like, I bet you they got that on one take. They're just so good. I guarantee you they got that on one take. It was so perfect. It's like
we didn't.
Oh, okay. But you didn't have to tell me. You could have let me go on believing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is really nice. We worked really hard. We made so many mistakes getting through that carny, but it was fun.
I know, it makes me kind of want to like I would have totally enjoyed that carny because it's got that creepy like but fun vibe there, you know, and it's got those cool bizarre shows and everything, and you know, it's like I love it.
There's even like a big in the it's quick, but there's the The Whore of Babylon is me pregnant. John had painted me on this big, like, what, 10-foot like piece of plywood, and so that's you. And it's just been in the barn, like getting mildewed over and everything. And it's like a big round woman, like big knockers and a big belly, and high heels.
I had painted it for our weddings just to make everybody really uncomfortable.
That's awesome.
Just about to have a baby, and
so
everything was so like, you know, completely incorrect. And it was like, and here's a big painting of Toby
As a whole Babylon.
naked.
I love it.
I love how you like to save everything like that, and you use it. You guys really need to make a master class, one of those master class things of filmmaking, because it's like inspiring. It's got to be inspiring to other filmmakers to see that what you can do with what, you know, it just go out and do it and look what you can produce, you know. I mean, granted, not everyone has you obviously just have like been blessed, all four of you blessed with that talent, but you know, but still it's like, you know, it's got to be inspiring to other filmmakers to look and say, wow, look, you don't have to have a $5 million budget here. You don't have to have these elaborate set pieces. There are ways to do it and still be just as effective with what you have and what you know, what you know, you can still get your vision. So.
Yeah, other filmmakers teach us that same thing. We watch movies every night, and it's always so great. I mean, mostly we watch independent films, and it's so great to watch what other people do, and you're like, oh my God, that's so smart. We should utilize that trick, you know? It's like, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So, of course, once again, like in Hellbender, music is a huge part of that film, and I'm glad you kind of brought like the little Hellbender-ish music back into that. And I thought it was fascinating too how Zelda's character in that was, you know, basically she could just sing kind of a thing. And I thought that was just a unique way to do that. So, but like how important, like, was that always the goal? Like, okay, we're going to have music is going to be a big part of this next film.
Well, we knew music was going to be a big part, but we didn't know it was going to be Hellbender music. We actually tried to write some 1930s type music. And we wrote like 3 songs. And when we first started getting our cuts in and I started putting an edit together and I threw in the songs, I was like, oh my God, this sucks so bad. Like it was like one of those days where I was like, ooh, oh my God, this is bad. And so we talked about it and we were like, you know what? People seem to enjoy Hellbender's music in Hellbender. Let's write a bunch of songs, like heavy ones. We had talked about, well, what would look good on a 1930s piece. And we have to admit, we had noticed that with the Peaky Blinders, they played rock and roll and it works really well. And so we were like, you know what? Let's see if we play some heavy rock and roll and put it over our shit, whether it flies. And we loved it and we really like it. And it has been received. So we're very excited about that because we like being Hellbender.
Yeah, no, I love when music that like maybe is not accurate for the time period is used. I think it gives such a cool effect to everything. Like what was that one Kirsten did? Was it Marie Antoinette? I think that movie she did where it was like a period piece, but it was all like modern day. Was it that's the one, Tim? I'm thinking.
I think so, yeah.
Where it's like all modern day music. Like I love that to me. It's like, you know, especially because I like love the Hellbender music. So like to me, I was just like, oh yes.
I think you can get away with that now because I see a lot of shows and movies doing that, and I think people have grown to accept that. So I think I love it too. I think it works really well.
Yeah, I agree. We love it. I remember the first time I saw it. Wasn't a movie called like We Will Rock You with the guy who plays Joker? Remember? He was a knight.
Oh yes, and was that A Knight's Tale? Maybe A Knight's Tale. Yeah, right.
The first time when they were like, it's all rock and roll over like night.
Yeah, with Heath Ledger. Yeah, Knight's Tale. Oh, I love that. Right. That's the one I meant to think too. I was kind of thinking of that one too. Yeah, that it works so well because to me, I love music where it hits more the cuts and the editing, that's why I'm a big montage person. I love seeing edited montage things. And so to me, the music doesn't have to necessarily be in the time period, but if it fits the pacing of it or fits the scenes and the cuts, to me, that's what's most effective. So it's like, I love that there are more people that aren't afraid to go and take that risk,
Yeah.
Peaky Blinders is good at that.
Yeah.
I love Peaky Blinders. I absolutely love that series. So yeah, that was they do that. They're like masters at fitting in that modern music.
Then, if you like Peaky Blinders, you should try Warrior. Have you heard of
I haven't
Warrior?
heard of that one. No, I haven't heard of that
Oh,
one.
it's really well done. But it takes place in the 1860s.
Yeah, like maybe the 1880s. It's sort of
In
like
San
in
Francisco?
Chinatown in San Francisco. The
Ooh.
fight
Oh.
choreography is incredible. It's based on Bruce Lee's, like he had some journals or writings that he always wanted to shoot, and his daughter kind of brought them to the, and it's a great series.
Check out one episode because
It's on Max.
it's shot like
Oh, I want to see this.
it is
Yeah.
shot so beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Oh
shot.
yeah, I'll
Oh
probably
yeah,
love that.
I'm like,
Yeah, I'll
I
check
may
that
like
out.
watch that tonight. The first episode. I'll check it
I
out.
hope you like it. If you don't like it, let us know. But oh my god,
Yeah.
we think it's great. We watched it from the beginning to the end, and it was really well done.
Oh yeah, I'll
Nice.
definitely check that out. So you guys really upped your game in terms of like the gore and the special effects in this one. So what was your favorite? I don't want to get without going too far into spoiler territory. What was your favorite like special effect gore type moment in this movie?
No, let's spoil it. Let's talk about it.
Well, I know there's
You
one
don't
scene
wanna
that
spoil?
everyone's going to cringe at
yes.
with the a certain dental practice.
Oh, that one was fun.
Yeah.
That
And
one.
that's
man.
Lulu's tooth. We've like given that tooth an acting role in 2 or 3 of our films.
Yeah, it was in The Deeper You Dig.
Mhm.
You
know, the just watching Trey work doing the poker scene,
yeah,
which is in the trailer, so we can kind of give it away. A poker through a neck, was just great watching his mastery, and he was just so simple and how he did it, and I think it looks great.
yeah.
But I gotta say, and this is what I won't give away, the last shot again, he just what like a masterpiece. I think
This
he
was
did.
so fun. We had been on the circuit with Hellbender, so we watch everybody else's movies, and we had noticed that gore seemed to be really big and really well done. So like a movie called The Sadness, the violence is like very well done. And we had seen a movie called The Golden Glove that the violence was really good, and Megalomaniac, and just a bunch of stuff. And so we wanted to try to push ourselves in that way. And it was really fun to try to think through how to make violence that you don't cut away from.
Yeah, I think that's important because nowadays there's that big debate. A lot of people in horror are like saying, "Oh, a PG-13 horror movie and this and all that stuff." So it's like I think people are craving the don't cut away kind of thing. Like you notice that's more of a thing now. It's like they will not cut away. They will leave it there. Like just when you think it should cut away, it doesn't. And to me, I'm like, all right, I'm all the way in on this now.
Look at Terrifier 2. I mean that really showed me people like their gore and their violence because that movie was crazy over the top.
Yeah, so, that's like, I mean, that's never. But even like that one sequence in I won't say the details, but the flashback sequence, John and your characters, like I was like, I kind of did one of these, like because you saw it, I didn't expect the like kind of the follow up gore to that, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant because it like lulls you in. It's like a perfect magic trick. It's like, hey, look right here, and then.
Boom, there's more.
There's more that you didn't expect. And I was just like, oh, that's brilliant. And I loved how that too. I mean, now the listeners who if they haven't seen it yet are probably like, oh, you're killing me on this. But yeah, and I loved how it like really like explained your character, because you're wondering what's going on, and it kind of it totally just like you have just a way of developing your characters without like sitting there saying like, okay, so here it is. I love the way you guys develop those characters like that.
Oh, thanks. I love those flashbacks. That is some of my favorite stuff in the film, and that's stuff that you don't want to kind of cut away from because that's just real life brutality. I mean, you're seeing the like crux of his PTSD right there, and it wasn't something that Maggie was enacting upon someone for her compulsions for violence. This was like real war violence, which is horrifying.
Also, we talk a lot about the art of violence, and for us, and this isn't like a law or a rule or anything, but at least with our movies, we want our violence to be balanced with something else, so that it's not just violence for violence. Do you know what I mean? It's violence that has a counterweight to it, whether it's humor or whether it's some emotional weight. And like, so all of Seven's flashbacks, where he's headed is, you see the word I used, headed?
Yeah.
And so it's like important, it's important. All those things have to have a weight. And that's why we didn't want to cut away from them. And Maggie's youth, we wanted to show, like, she does become a homicidal kind of crazy person, but we wanted to show that, like, there's a reason for it. She's not just like, I want to kill people. It's like she was really hurt as a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no.
want to that. You brought up a good point, because I'm not a big torture porn type guy in terms of movies. I don't like you said, violence for violence sake, and gore for gore's sake. But I do love when the violence that just happens to be occurring is not, there's no punches held. So
Right.
So it's kind of a tricky balance, but there are movies out there that are just showing that stuff just to show you, and that to me doesn't impress me. What impresses me is when I'm watching events play out, and then when those events do turn violent, then it hits you like a hammer over the head. That's the kind of stuff. And this movie, I thought, did a great job of doing that without resorting to, oh, this is gross, so let me, yeah.
Yeah, no, it all had its place. It all had its purpose.
Exactly.
And it moved the film. It developed the film. It developed the characters. It made sense. And it was like, yeah, I mean, it was like, it's like Tim, I'm the same way. It's like, and there's certain things that's funny that like as much as I love horror films, there's a few things that, like, gore things, that I just make me go like, oh, but I love it at the same time. And you had a couple of those things with, I'll just say, with Fingers. That's one of the things I like. And so, I mean, like, literally there's that, I'm just like, okay, but I love it. It was so well done and so cool and so essential to the plot. I mean, like,
right.
The guy's name is Mr. Tips, but I mean, so it's like perfect. But yeah, no, you guys always do like you never had, like, I noticed you don't waste shots. You don't waste. All the films I've seen, the 3 that I've seen, have all been like just so economical with the story. It's like there's nothing that I feel like doesn't belong in there. It's always so succinct and so essential to the story.
That's a beautiful thing to say.
Well, we watch a lot of indie
Yes.
films, and you guys probably, I mean, you guys do too. And there are filmmakers out there that really have to stretch and pad to stretch out a running time, or they're leaving stuff in that, like, you don't necessarily need the shot of the guy stopping his car to get gas on the way to the other person's house, and they don't understand that. So there is definitely a talent in keeping your story succinct and not wasting time on stuff that's not integral to the plot. I mean, and this goes for authors too, because I do writing and stuff. That's a big thing. Like, you have to know where to edit yourself.
That it's so true, and that's something we learn every film. We're still learning, there's just, we'll never stop learning in that regard. But when we made our first film, we showed it to some friends, and they kind of paused and said, one of them said, it's very French. Like, we could have like cut out 15 minutes of just
15 an hour. We were like, look, it's a shot of a highway.
And it's so beautiful.
Oh my God, we just sit on the highway. Just the camera's just sitting on the highway. It's amazing.
But sometimes it works, actually.
Yeah.
But sometimes then it doesn't. You have to, like, that's the thing. The more you do it, the more you realize what earns its time, on that timeline, and what needs to get, the scissors. That
goes back to the first thing that you guys said, was there pressure after Hellbender? And that's kind of the concept of, there was a day when we could set a camera down on a highway and roll it for a minute and think, this is so cool. Everyone's going to love this. It's so great. It's just a highway for a minute. And now we know that no one's going to love a highway for a minute. Like, Toby, I remember when she came, she said she learned this at a festival. Somebody said this, and she came home and she's like, ooh, I got something for us. Get in late, get out early.
Oh, yeah.
Every edit. And I was like, so now these days, I'm always asking myself, am I in late and am I out early? And it's a great editing mantra.
Yeah, just today, John was editing something, and I was like, I think we should go back in and trim it a little bit.
Yep. And it's hard because you kind of fall in love with those moments that mean something to you. But I'll tell you one thing, when you're sitting in with an audience in a festival and a big theater and there's like 300 people there, you fucking know the places you should have cut. And you learn so fast, like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to sit here through like this next 30 seconds where nothing really happens.
I'll tell you one place I'm glad you guys didn't not take your time, and that was the intro to this movie. Again, I'm not going to give anything away, but there's the very intro where the guy's like reciting something, and that whole scene like enraptured me.
Yeah.
And it goes on for a while. It
Yeah,
goes on
yeah.
for a while, but I'm glad it did, because I was really mesmerized by it. It really, I mean, it definitely has throwbacks to Todd Browning's Freaks. I mean, it was really a really cool sequence. So,
I'm glad. I think we're both glad to hear that, because yes, I think some people flat out think, oh, it's just too long. But if you really listen, it was one that we wanted to give that story and and in a way give an homage to the fact that, you know, entertainment first comes from stories that were just told before you could put them on film, or even draw them. Maybe you drew them on a wall. You know, there's something about like sitting and listening, hearing a story, and then something moving on from that. But that poem is so important. I still think of it every day. I'm haunted by trying to think of where I could have cut it, or we could have like done something differently. But in the end, I really, if people sit and listen, they'll learn everything they need to know about the story they're about to see.
That's so true. Like when people, like if people are confused about, well, wait, what was the underlying theme of the story? It's like, well, it's all said in the intro. Like, so, and every sentence is actually really fucking important. And also Justin, who did that, did such a great job. That was an example of,
Yeah.
I don't want to cut anything because he's just rocking this shit so hard. And we couldn't really cut anything because each sentence is something that is very important to the story. So it means a lot to us that you enjoyed it. So that's one of those hate or love moments in that movie, where some people are like, oh my God, my favorite thing is that intro, you know? And then some people are like, I was glad to get through the intro and get into the movie, you know? Like,
I think it's so important. I bet you those people that maybe like be negative towards that, I bet if they watch it again, they'll realize. And like Tim and I think we watch enough that we can like catch that stuff. Like on the first time, like I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I realized it was a long sequence, but I'm like, you know, and maybe it's because we got, you know, we've seen your other films and we know you. I'm like, I know that this is important. They need every second of this. And it's so brilliantly done. Like it really does. It brings you into the full like feeling of that movie, of the movie. And it like, you know, and if like the way to me, it's like, like, you know, you said like, oh, if I just get through this and get onto the story, to me, I'm like, when that was done, I said, I'm going to love this movie. I said, I just, you know, it's like, that's the way I was thinking. I'm like, okay, I know where this is important. This is good. This is so cool. If this is the vibe of the movie, I'm in, you know, and it's like, and you just continue through the movie with it being so good. And so, you know, going back to that, you listen, like you said, if you listen to that thing, and it's a long thing. So I don't memorize every line in that, but you know that some of the signature lines that are going to be, you know, and Tim and I always have a running joke. We love it. Like, you know, we always like do that thing, you know, that like meme where Leonardo DiCaprio points when the name of the film gets mentioned. But in this, it's so important that every time that film get mentioned, instead of like that mind, I'm like, yes, all right, I love it. I love that they threw the line in again because it's so important in this film. So
yeah, you know, and I think we're real, you know, it's fun and it means a ton to us that you guys enjoyed that, because I think we're also making movies. There's a lot of niches in the horror community. You know, there's a lot of different sects, and we like making movies for the ones that do enjoy taking their time a little to get to those big punchy moments, you know, rather than, you know, and I love a movie that just gets right in there, heads start rolling, and they don't stop rolling until the end of the movie. And you're like, oh my God, that was a blood fest. It was great. And I love that too. But it's fun that there's an audience out there that wants some time to be taken.
Yeah. Oh, Tim and I are big fans of the slow burn, especially when it pays off. And, you know, and it's like, and this one truly pays off. So it's like it's perfect.
Well, I love those. I love those old. I love, like, my favorite horror era is the 70s. Anybody that listens to this podcast knows I love 70s horror, and a lot of those were very slow burn horror movies.
Yeah.
And so I kind of grew up watching, Rosemary's Baby and
Yeah.
and movies like that are kind of that, to take their sweet time getting to the end. But I just kind of grew up on that. I've always had a taste for that kind of filmmaking. So the slow burn definitely doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, and there's something I enjoy it too. I think partially because now attention spans are different. I think from when we were growing up, where you just had to watch more. Now everything's you're expected to like go blum 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 blum, fast. Sometimes I love to just sit and like have something wash over me instead of parts thrown at me. I mean, I like that too, but I think sometimes it's a bold choice to take time in films these days.
We just watched a fun one called Birth Rebirth. Have you guys seen that one?
No, it's on my list. It's on my to watch list. I need to see that because I've heard good things about that.
It's great.
Yeah, and see what you said too is like when Toby just said, well, you like to watch it. That's what I love too, because especially this film has such amazing cinematography and just visuals, and that's like a signature of your films. And to me, so it's like why would you want to rush that? You always rush. You have to rush through life as it is. Why not just take the time and enjoy what's coming to you? And even though the movie is, what is it? I think it's like an hour and a half, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't even ever feel like it's a slow burn, but it is, because I don't know, to me, when I get pulled into a movie, I kind of don't want it to end, and I just feel like it's all around me almost, like this almost like mental 3D, kind of thing. And I just, to me, I would like have stayed in that movie for another hour if there was stuff. So
isn't that a great feeling? I love that feeling. I saw a movie at Sitges this year, and I guess it was 2.5 hours, and someone was like, oh my God, it was so long. And I was going, oh my God, I didn't want it to end. I love that feeling of just, getting like sucked in. And I'm a total like movie bitch. Like when I go to the movie theaters, I'm one of those people who, I'm such a purist. I'm like, turn off your phones.
Yep.
Don't mess with my experience. Don't talk. I get, my heart just races when people fuck with my movie experience.
Yeah, we have a friend who we have a little chat, and like she kind of gave like our little group chat. She gives us the rules. She's like, don't you dare have that phone out. Like, like and when we're in the theater, we almost feel like the obligation to kind of say, okay, we're shutting the phone off now. We're in the theater. We'll see you in like a couple hours, kind of thing. But it's funny. So you mentioned the festival too. So what was your favorite? Because I've seen like so many amazing reactions for this film from the festival. And it was killing me because I couldn't get to see it yet until it was on Vudu. And the day it came out, I'm like, all right, I'm buying it so I can have it.
Thank you.
So what was your favorite like reactions that you got from the film? And it could be like a crowd reaction, or someone came up to you afterwards and said something, or.
I know, but do you want to go?
No. Yeah, I want to hear yours.
Well, it's funny because now we've had some great opportunities to travel with the film, and there's the scene where where a little geography takes place, and it's funny. A lot of Americans aren't familiar with the Norwegian flag, and we've been in other countries in Europe and even in South America, and they seem to know their geography really well, so they get like massive responses to that scene in particular.
Yeah, I love that scene, by the way. That was a great scene because it had a little bit of humor in it. It had a little, and like in the midst of the intensity of that scene, it was still, you found a way to get that like perfect little bit of humor in there on it.
I really enjoy seeing audiences how they absorb that, and it's the ones outside of America that absorb it the most.
My favorite was when we played in Sitges in Spain. That it was weird because they not so many of that audience spoke English, so there was subtitles, and there was 2 sets of subtitles. There was Catalan and Spanish, and so you saw these. It was a little confusing, and it was like, but they cheered like rock, like at a soccer game, for all the violence. So it's like nobody was really like laughing. I think it's a pretty funny movie, and like so people weren't really laughing. I was like, holy shit! Like none of the like humor is like really coming across. But every little piece of violence, it was like somebody had scored a goal, and it was so it kind of made up for like the people weren't laughing; they were just so cheering the violence. And there's a bunch of violence, so that was fun.
That's awesome.
I got to give a shout out to Argentina too, because the film played at Mar del Plata, which is a really big non-genre festival there. But they have a wonderful like 0 hour program with just a handful of horror films, and we were lucky we got to play with things like Censor and When Evil Lurks, and we had 3 different screenings, and they were 3 different packed screenings in huge theaters, and the audience was just like ravenous, and such intelligent like Q&As. I mean, I have to say the people in Argentina have been incredibly supportive of us.
Yeah.
And so that one stands out for me as just like I'm still floating from Argentina.
And now you can see why. I mean, they came, you know, the hit movie of the year is When Evil Lurks. I mean, that's an Argentinian director, and it's a freaking badass movie.
I love that one. That was one of my favorites of the year. For
Yeah.
sure.
Sadly, I have yet to see it. I feel so bad.
Sadly.
And it's like literally my queue on Shudder, and I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my
So
God.
we won't talk about it because we'll talk about it next time.
Okay, yeah.
No, you're gonna love it, Brian.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think Tim, you could probably skip to the next one because I think we covered it. I think I might have duplicated a question a bit.
Yeah. Okay, so we always like to kind of to let you guys, of course, you're on here to promote this film. So how would you kind of pitch this film to potential viewers? You know, what's the main message you want to get across with this movie?
For me, it's a brutal love story.
I get that.
Yeah.
That. Oh yeah, and that's like what I had mentioned earlier too. What's so unique about it, because you wouldn't think that aspect would be in there, but you could really see. I mean, between the romance between your characters, the love you have as a family unit, and how you all like care for each other. And it's funny, even though Zelda doesn't really speak in this film. I hope that's not too much of a spoiler, but I think you pretty much find out pretty quickly that you could see like with her expressions on how much she cares for her family in it. And you know that, I mean, obviously that, you know, I mean, when you have a movie like this and you know, each role is so different in your family there, it's so amazing how it came across so strongly in every, you know, and it's just like that one, like there's this one tender scene that I won't, not going to go into too many details, but you know, just when you guys are talking, when you're about the when I think when you're talking about how like, oh, you know, how you weren't how you guys built, how you met in the story, and how you fell in love and all that stuff. And I loved how that like just like those little tender moments, you know, you wouldn't think would be kind of fitting in this film, but it fits so perfectly. It's just so well done the way they do that. So I love that you like that's how you see this film too, is that aspect. And I didn't just imagine it. It's there. You know?
No, love is such an important theme in this film, because I love and tragedy are just the perfect bedmates, you know, because one, you know, when you're in love, what will you do to keep that love? And you, the more you love, the more you can be violent, I think, in a film.
You know, we live in a part of upstate New York that's pretty tough, you know, and people get their ass, like life kicks these people's ass. But you know what? We all go watch our kids' soccer games, and we love our kids, and we love our husbands and wives. And that's what this movie is about, is like, it's a brutal, beautiful world.
Yeah, and it comes across that in every aspect of it, through the visuals, the dialogue, the actions, the cinematography. It all like matches that. So I'm almost excited to hear people's reaction after they listen to this interview and hear you say that, and then go see it and see how they feel about it. You know, like they say, "Oh my God, they were right. That's exactly what it is." You know.
I think it's important to challenge, like it's really important for us to have complex characters. In this case, that challenge the viewer to actually like them, because these people do some horrible things.
Yeah.
And for me, that's an interesting character. When I watch someone who does horrible things, but I'm challenged enough to actually like root for them sometimes, or at least love them, or perhaps just empathize with them, that's just a good character. And I like films that do that.
Well, Hellbender was the same deal. You know, in Hellbender, you don't know whether to love or hate Zelda's character, or to love or hate the mother. It's like both of them are doing complex things that are both super good but super evil too. Like it's pretty twisted, and that's what's fun for us anyways, to tell stories about those characters.
I think that's a testament to your acting and the writing and the characters you've developed, because they are that's so they are on two levels. Like, I like yeah, you guys are murdering family in this, but yet I'm like, I want to hang out with them. They're awesome. It's like, does that make me weird? I don't know. I don't care.
I'm not German.
Yeah.
We love well, look at Peaky Blinders. We talked about Peaky Blinders. Yeah. They're complex characters. Each one of those characters is super dark and super beautiful. Why do we love Breaking Bad? Exact same reason. Like, you're like, oh my God, like how could Jesse do that? Or how could Walt do that? And then, and then the next moment you're like, oh, Walt is such a loving guy, The Sopranos, like those are the movies, those are the shows that we love to watch. We want those complex characters that are so dark but also so beautiful.
And that's real life too. Like, people don't fit into I'm all good or I'm all bad. Everybody's got their flaws. Everybody's got their good points. Everybody's got their bad points. So I think people respond. I know I respond to it more than I respond to something where the good guy always wears the white hat and the bad guy always wears the black hat. There's a place for those stories. I love those stories. I love Star Wars. Brian loves Star Wars. And there's very good delineation between good and evil, but that's not real life. And I like the shows like you mentioned that kind of challenge, how you think about people and how you can love and hate somebody at the same time.
Yeah, I love Star Wars too. And I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's a bad guy chasing people with chainsaws and just killing them. And those are super fun. They're almost like an ice cream sundae to me. But usually I like The Thing.
Yeah.
Something like where I'm like, each one of those characters is both good and bad, and they're all fucked,
But you got to have your sit down meal occasionally. You can't have fast food all the time.
Right, exactly.
But fast food's good when you want it. So I get it.
So to finish off here, so we obviously, of course, can't wait to see what you have next in there. Is there anything you can tell us about it yet, or is it still too early to kind of give us any hints or anything?
I'm going to give you the honors because I still haven't found my wording yet.
Yeah, we don't have a great elevator pitch, but we've written a really fun script that me, Zelda, Toby, all are just that we're flying on, and we're very happy about it. So what it is it's going to concentrate on a father and a daughter, me and Zelda, that have to visit a woman who promises a cure for something uncurable.
Oh, I really like that. That's a good elevator pitch right there.
Oh, okay, good. Maybe I did. Will you send me this? I'm gonna have to watch this tomorrow to figure out what the elevator pitch is. Then. But
it's great.
That's what it is, and there's always a payment. Nothing comes for free, and so and we have the beginning, middle, and end all set up. We know what they are, and actually we wrote a script, which is very unusual. So we're very excited about that.
So I already could tell Tim and I are going to like this. So we're just going to book you when we're for the next time already.
Do it, yes.
Let me know when it's coming out. We'll just set it now.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Obviously, it's we love to have you on the first time, and we were very excited that you guys were returning, especially for this film, which was like we said, checked every box for the kind of movies that Brian and I love. So again, appreciate you guys coming on. I wish you the best of success with this movie. It looks like you've already had a ton of success, a lot of rave reviews, and I hope those that are listening to this definitely go out, check it out, and see it, because I think you're going to love it. All right, Brian. So as we said in the interview, we will be having the Addams Family back for every movie they do from here on out until the end of eternity.
Yes.
So
yes, whether they like it or not. But no, they seem to like it. They seem to want to come on. Even it was funny when they said even if it's a stinker, you guys will regret it. Well, no, because I love talking to them anyway. I don't care what they, even if they came on and gave us a recipe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Our feature tonight is Secret Santa. I had not heard of this one until Brian caught an audible at the last minute. We switched one of our movies we were going to do this one, and I'm glad he did because I really, really liked this one. I thought this was cool. This one was on Screenbox. If you don't have Screenbox,
Yeah, well, Jeff Whitmire was talking about it a little while ago, and so that's what it was in the back of my mind, and I think it was my original plan, and then I think we forgot it, and then but I'm glad we picked this too.
Yeah, this one came out in 2018. It was directed by Adam Marcus. Stars Michael Rady as Ty, Drew Lynch as Kyle, Deborah Sullivan as Sherry, A. Leslie Keys as April, Ryan Lee Seaton as Penny, John Gilbert as Leonard, Pat Duster as Carol, Nathan Hedrick as Jackson, and Michelle Renee Allaire as Jacqueline. Christmas dinner brings tidings of death when someone enacts revenge, and out of the bloody madness rises a hero who must face all odds to stop an outbreak before it's too late. What I loved about this movie is it starts off very much like a traditional Hallmark Christmas movie in a way.
It does.
It's a family gathering, and you tell this family is very dysfunctional. They bicker back and forth, and there's arguments, but it's very lighthearted. I would say more in a lighthearted tone. And I thought that, and obviously this is a horror movie, so it does eventually escalate into.
Escalate is a light term.
That escalated quickly. That meme that's this movie to a T.
Oh, that should be like the cover art. That meme.
So, but what I did love when I was watching this, and even after it escalated, I was like, this movie, to a degree that not a lot of holiday horror movies are able to pull off, really did capture that feel of a Christmas Hallmark movie.
It did, didn't it?
It did.
I mean, especially the opening scene, sequence alone through the credits were,
and even
and
even maybe not even a Hallmark movie, because I know those tend to be more romance driven, but any kind of romantic comedy type movie, like a Love Actually or Four Christmases, any of those mainstream, even theatrical run movies that take place at Christmas time, where it's a family getting together, and there's there's always the oddball relative and the overbearing mom, and you've seen this trope a lot of times, but they really nailed that. I thought they really nailed that aspect of it, and it does take it does kind of give you a foreshadowing very early on of the events that are about to play out, but it does take its time in the very first part of the movie getting to that point. And I thought they did a really good job of just establishing all these characters, all this family, so that when the events that come later do play out, you have some investment in these characters. I thought that was really smart, because they could have just launched right into the horror bit and you wouldn't have known the background and the story of all these characters and wouldn't have cared about them as much.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's funny. It's not many are particularly likable.
I would say none of. Well, there's a handful. There's a handful. Yeah,
yeah. There's a few in there. But what's funny is and usually when you see those, the certain characters will end up being they'll either change, or the rotten people stay rotten, and the other, and. Without giving a spoiler away, that there is an element what makes them even worse, but the thing is most of them are pretty just horrible to the core.
Yeah. And what's funny is, and I typically kind of shy away from movies of dysfunctional families because it makes me uncomfortable. I don't like seeing people fight. I don't like seeing people argue. And so a lot of times I'll kind of those movies turn me off, but for some reason this one didn't, but I think because it has this kind of tongue-in-cheek humor about it, overlying all the horror. There's this dark, very dark comedy sitting on top of it, that even as I was watching this cringy, argumentative family go back and forth, the dark humor kind of softened that for me, so that I actually kind of liked it. And I did want to talk about one particular actor in this, which was Drew Lynch. You guys when I first saw him, I was like, who is this guy? I remember him. He has a stutter. And
yeah, he was great.
Yes, he was a comedian on America's Got Talent. He was he competed on America's Got Talent. I think got actually very far into the finals. And he has a real stutter. He's as a stand-up comedian. And I really liked him on America's Got Talent. And so when I saw him in this movie, I was like, I didn't know this guy could act. And I was blown away. Like, he was one of the best actors in this movie. I couldn't believe it.
And he was one of the characters that you really liked.
Yes,
a lot.
So likable. I mean, the likability he had in real life in his comedy, which I really liked on America's Got Talent, really shone through in this movie because he is a character you're supposed to root for. But I thought he did a fantastic job acting. Like, why is he not in more things? Like, he's really, really good.
He did, and I know this is going to sound weird to say, but I feel like him having the stutter, you know, if for you know, in real life, I guess, and the character made the character a little bit rounded more, you know, because like he kind of already had, without giving stuff away, he already had a sort of a vulnerability, and like to have that there, and like it made his where, you know, he does have a moment where he, like his hero moment, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And when it does, it becomes even more powerful, you know? Yeah. And it's like, I was like, it's interesting when it's, you know, you would figure a movie like this wouldn't be able to find something that might limit certain people, but actually in this, they managed to find a little way to kind of propel his character.
Yeah, no, I thought it was perfect casting. Yeah.
Yeah, he was so good. And I really like the lead actress in it. She looks so familiar, but she's been in like nothing else that I've seen her in. Yeah. But I think it's because she looks like a couple of other actresses. Mm-hmm. Just, you know, and but I thought she was really good at it. And, you know, she's you know, like she has like a lot of the heartfelt moments. You could tell she's like, there she has the good intentions, but also there's a little bit of bit about her that's kind of like a little sinister, the way she develops things, you know, and you find out through a backstory that she wasn't always so nice. And, you know, so like, you know, even when she, you know, overall, she's definitely probably the most, you know, one of the most likable characters in it. There is like kind of like, she does kind of get, you know, you find out what she did back in, you know, her, you know, previous, before the events of the movie. There's certain things you're like, she kind of deserves some of this that's coming at her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all the characters I think are interesting, even the ones that are quote unquote pure evil. All have some background that comes out through the dialogue that makes them kind of interesting and well-rounded and three-dimensional versus, you know, just throwing a bunch of two-dimensional characters together and having them fight each other.
Yeah, and this is not a knock on this is just that like joke that everyone uses, but I like that there was a like a Wish version of Paul Rudd and Beanie Feldstein in this movie.
Yeah.
Tell me that guy did not remind you of Paul Rudd in a way, just like not as Ruddish.
Not as Ruddish, but yeah, I could definitely see where you're coming from with that one. But this,
yeah, and the other sister was very Beanie Feldstein-esque.
Yes, yeah, but I think you guys. I mean, I think we are doing a poor job of conveying how absolutely batshit crazy this movie gets.
I don't think. Yeah, you like the only way to do it is to spoil the hell out of it. I don't want to do that to you, because it's the biggest strength of this movie is that it just goes to a place you'd never expect it to go.
It's a roller coaster.
Every time you think it's done getting to that level, it finds another level.
Yeah, so I
go crazier.
I really enjoyed it. I like
this is like a hidden gem.
It is a little bit of a hidden gem. I mean, I enjoyed it up through the parts where it starts getting crazy. Like I already liked the movie even at that point, and nothing had really happened yet. And yet, then when things like get turned to 11, then it's like, oh my god, like this movie is nuts. I mean, it's not adult Yule log weirdness nuts, but it's
more traditional nuts, but it just keeps getting like escalating more and more and more.
And that's why I love the dark comedy of it, because the escalation is so over the top and absurd that I think you guys are really gonna like it. So this one definitely Secret Santa. I think this is a secret gem for holiday horror.
And one more thing I'll say is that what's cool about it is like, you know, there's obviously some like almost like stereotypical comedy lines in there that you would you know, that are like typical for that kind of like horror, but yet when they choose to deliver those parts, it's like at the perfect spot. Like, it's like it like doesn't seem like forced or anything. Like, there's like there's always that like one character is gonna say, I'm getting out of here kind of thing or whatever. Like, and that line is gonna be coming at some point in this movie, and they hold it out just enough to the point of where you kind of forget it'll happen, and then boom, they say it. And it's like, and I think and Adam Mark is a good director because I loved Jason Goes to Hell, and so that was one of his big ones that he did, and. I've always kind of liked his directing style because he kind of does over the top things, but at the same time has this bit of groundedness and a story that he maintains throughout. So I think he did a good job, and I think this one is a really fun one for I think this is it's not a perfect film, but it's like a perfect holiday horror film to throw on. Like when you're looking for especially if you haven't seen it yet, and you're looking for something fresh and that you haven't seen, this is one that I think will be like a fun one to watch every year or something, when you get a chance. Like I'm not going to put it like ahead of some of the other ones I love, but it's definitely one I could see trying to, repeat viewing, like every,
And I like that. I like that it does something a little different with holiday horror. It's not it's not necessarily, the Killer Santa or the things you might typically expect of holiday horror. I think it goes in a little bit different direction, which I really liked as well. So check that one out for sure. It's on Screambox only, I believe. I think
right now it's only on Screambox. And it's crazy because it's years old and I haven't heard of it.
I know. I almost watched the one we had talked about in the Sammy's group, which was the Christmas craft show horror or whatever.
Oh my God, I know. I'm going to watch that this week.
But I didn't have time today to watch it. I really wanted to talk about it. But there's one on Tubi called Christmas Craft Fair Horror. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that Sammy's group, by the way. It's just great people in there.
So, but yes.
And I got whammed, by the way, speaking of the Sammy's group. I was finally whammed in the worst way possible. Like, at least I figured I could have, but then again, it's like a way I would go. Like, you expect to be whammed, by just walking into a store and hearing it blast because it plays all the time. And I was not shying away from it. Like, I'm like Golden Boy, he goes out there in the battle, I
don't avoid stores or anything.
I don't avoid stores. I listen to the Christmas music channel on XM. It could have happened at any time. So I was, my exposure rate to possibly hearing that was as pretty much as high as you can go without hearing it. And of all places, scrolling through an Instagram post about someone's holiday something, and that's playing in the background.
It's the worst that you whammed yourself. That's what really sucks.
I whammed myself in a stupid way. It's frustrating.
I'm still going strong. I have not been whammed yet. This might be the record. I don't know that even last year I made it this long. And I thought last year was a pretty good run. But I have not really, I've done a lot of shopping online this year. And later this week, when I get off of work, is when we're really going to be hitting the stores. So I'm fully expecting I may be whammed before the weekend's out.
Yeah, you may be in trouble because I think usually that's as it gets closer, I think that they up the rotate, they tighten the rotation up and upload really that and the Mariah Carey one constantly. But yeah.
So Brian, what beer pairing did you have for Santa's? Secret Santa, I should say.
So this is kind of funny. I found a literally reverse named beer here, and it's from kind of your neck of the woods there in North Carolina, Tim. It's Santa's Secret.
Yeah.
It's from a brewery I never heard of, though. It's just called Carolina Brewery.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. That's out of Chapel Hill in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and there's two. There's Pittsburgh and Chapel Hill. I don't know how far you are from either of those, but, it's in your state.
Chapel Hill's not far. It's about 3.
Was that haunt we wanted to try one time was there?
In Pittsburgh,
when I was out there?
Yeah, I think so. Chapel Hill's about 3 hours. It's not too. Neither of those are really far from me.
Yeah, but that's crazy. It's literally a brewery I never heard of.
It's kind of got a generic name, though. Yeah.
Yeah, Carolina Brewery. It's more of a description than a name, but anyway, and so this beer sounds actually kind of good. It's 10%, and once I saw this description, I knew Tim would have to would like this one. It was the right choice. It says perfect for Cousin Eddie decking the halls in mistletoe, as Tim's one of his favorite holiday movies, of course, Christmas Vacation, as mine. And it says ho ho ho, who's in? It says Santa's Secret is a Belgian strong ale that blends the complex and bright flavors of the holidays in a robust beer. Dark crystal malts are paired with fruity hops to render a crisp and warming ale that is the perfect addition to all joyous celebrations.
Very nice. Yeah, if I can find that one, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you have a much better chance of finding it than I do. So, yeah, we're gonna have to rely. The pressure's on you on that one.
Yes.
Too. So, so our final fan topic for the year, since it is our final holiday episode, and it's not so much necessary. Well, I mean, I guess it does fit into the movie slightly because there is a gift.
There was a
exchange.
Secret Santa gift exchange, so I think it does.
Yes, there is a full gift exchange in here, but this was kind of bonus. It was also the sentimental thing anyway. But so the question is, Tim? What was your favorite gift that you ever received, and what was the favorite gift you ever gave?
Well, I thought about this one because I was actually on a forum that I frequent a lot, and this actually came up. Like, what was your favorite Christmas ever? And the one that instantly came to mind, and I don't think this one can be topped really, is the year I got my Atari 2600. Back when I was,
yes.
that would have been maybe 81, 82. And you have to remember, I grew up pretty poor. I mean, my mom was working. She was a single mom working, minimum wage. I don't know how the hell she afforded an Atari 2600 at the time. Actually, my dad might have still been with her at that time, but we still didn't have a lot of money. And if you go back
they were expensive back then for the time.
Yeah, they were about
$400.
They were like buying an Xbox today. They literally were that.
But it was like, but I think, it was like, you're right. I think it was about $300.
Yeah.
But back then, that $300 seemed like completely like bonkers for any kind of thing to bring home.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
like,
the games too. The games were just like they are today. They were like $60, $70.
yeah.
Adjusted for inflation, obviously. But
In the beginning, then I remember they started to get to that $30 price point for a while. When there was more competition. Do you remember when, like, in television came out?
Then towards
the games dropped.
Then towards the end, when
$30 range.
when Atari was like on the brink of going out of business, like you could find them in like the $5 bin and everything. But
99 cents.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
there was a time when you could get like some of those Atari carts.
yeah, but so that one had to be my like. I was so. I mean, I even remember to this day, like I feel like I like fell back on the couch in like shock and wonder. I was so surprised at that. And then of course it's important because that seeded my love of video games. It like continued throughout my whole life, that I still play games all the time. It just goes all the way back to that Christmas of the Atari 2600. So that would be like my favorite gift I ever received, I think. But the ones I gave, I've got two for my favorite gifts I ever gave. The first one was one I gave my brother, which was, and this ties into our interview, and it ties where the devil roams.
Yeah.
But I used to paint and assemble model kits, what they called figure kits of horror movie characters and stuff. Like I had a pinhead, I had a leather face, and they were usually made out of vinyl, so they weren't cheap, but they were not like crazy expensive. And they had another set of models that were much nicer that were made of resin. And if you've ever looked at a resin model, it's almost feels like a porcelain. That's the consistency. So it's a much nicer model. And I remember I splurged on this kit because I absolutely loved it. It was a resin figure kit of Schlitzie the Pinhead from the movie Freaks.
Which, by the way, that Schlitzie always freaked me out.
Schlitzie was a real sideshow performer in the 30s, and he was in the movie Freaks. He was always usually depicted in a dress, and he was sometimes billed as a girl, even though he was a guy.
And what wasn't that who Naomi Grossman's like character in American Horror Story kind of
it was based off
of
the microencephaly performers and they would call them pinheads, and that is probably a derogatory name now, but at the time that's what they would call them. And so I love this kit, but it was a kit of Schlitzie in the classic pose, holding a flower with the dress on and everything. And so I painted this kit, and I worked on it for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I painted this thing, and I ended up giving it to my brother for Christmas. And it was one of those gifts that I didn't necessarily expect to give it away because it was something like I really prized, but I knew he would love it. I knew he would absolutely love it. And so I had worked so hard on this, and I ended up giving it to him. And that was one of my favorite ones, and he still has it, to this day. Like we put it in a little glass dome and everything. He's got it in his house.
Oh, that's awesome.
And one of my other favorite gifts I ever gave was another one. And this just goes to show you that the gifts you work the hardest on are the most rewarding to give. My mom had lost her cat Melody that had died, and I started working. You guys may blow your mind of this. I cross stitch. Like like my mom.
Wow.
My mom, when I was little, taught me how to cross stitch, and I've cross stitched for years.
Tim has just got endless talents. I like how he reveals them over
Yes.
time. So you never know all the talents of Tim at once.
Yeah, no. So I used to cross stitch all the time. I still like doing it. But I found this cross stitch of a cat sleeping in a tree, and it looked just like Melody. And so I bought it, and this was one of the biggest cross stitches and one of the most complex cross stitches I'd ever attempted. And so I started working on this thing like months and months before Christmas, almost a year before Christmas, knowing in advance I would give it to her on Christmas. And I worked on this thing for months and months and months. I mean, like blood, sweat, and tears went into this thing because it was very complex. It was very difficult. Like it was a very high level cross stitch. There were like stitches and stuff I had never done before that I had to try to do, and lots of colors, and like really like painstakingly counting like. For people who have done cross stitch, like, it's easy if there's like 10 squares that are all red, but it's really hard when there's like 10 squares and each square is a different color, and there's because you're going to have to stop and tie the thread off and snip it and restart. I mean, it gets very time consuming. So I worked on this thing for months and months and months, and I finally finished it like right before Christmas, like down to the wire, and I ended up giving it to her, and obviously she absolutely loved it, and she still has it in the house today, hanging up. But
that's awesome.
I was really proud of that one, and I just think I'm not a great gift giver. I'm good at finding things that I think people will like to an extent. I'm not like a terrible gift giver, but it's very rare that I run across the ones where I go, oh my god, this is like absolutely spot on, perfect. And so when I do run across those, and especially the ones that I worked really, really hard on, those are definitely the most rewarding. So that would be my answer for that question.
Nice. Yeah, I have a couple too. So the one, I guess I'll do the one I got first. So yeah, I like you too. I remember I would get it was my video games were always anytime you got any kind of video game thing was kind of a huge deal, like back then. And like I remember like my grandparents got me the first Atari, and my mom had got me Nintendo for one Christmas. But then but I think one of my favorites was, and this started off the trend of my dad's like thing that he used to do, where he would always like, he'd make like literally the gift giving, like a theatrical event kind of a thing. And it was the year the ColecoVision came out, and I wanted the ColecoVision so badly.
Oh, see, I could never afford the ColecoVision. That was like rich kid stuff. I could never. That was
there's also I was like I think he also had a connection at this point to any kind of electronics at this point. He kind of cool records and any kind of like stereos and all those kind of things like that. He used to have a connection, but anyway, I don't know what he paid for it anyway back then. But I remember it was one of the first like holidays we did. It was my stepmom was around, so it was one of the first times my dad actually did a Christmas kind of a thing. Of course, growing up Jewish. Yeah. So, my grandparents always would do the Hanukkah and have cool things and always come, presents and like galore. They go crazy because that's what grandparents do. But what was great is, so it was like I remember I was like hoping for the ColecoVision, and I will admit I was a little spoiled as a kid. So usually like, I would get like my mom would always try and get me, any toys I wanted. But ColecoVision, this was like a big thing at the time, like Tim said, it was pricey back then too. So, and I remember, so like after we did the Christmas, it was the first time I ever like really did a true Christmas. I think we were at a neighbor's once, or my parents' friends when I was a kid, and they kind of had a tree, and I was too young to remember much of it. But so this is the first time we kind of did one of those kind of Christmas things, and so we opened, they got me a bunch of little things, and a bunch of other presents, and I opened it all up, and I remember, and I was like spoiled I was kind of like happy with all the stuff I got, but it was like this little tinge of like, I really wanted that ColecoVision, it's like, I guess maybe, my birthday's coming up in May, so I'll have like, 5 months, maybe I'll try it again, And I remember so we had all the wrapping paper over. My dad said, "Oh, Brian, go get a garbage bag for let's like put this away. And I said, okay. So I think I got another cool electronic thing I wanted to try anyway. So, but before I could try it, he made me go get the garbage bag. So he told me to go in the kitchen. When I opened up the cabinet, there was a giant box underneath the cabinet where the garbage bags were. And as you can guess, because I'm not the most exciting storyteller, it was the ColecoVision. I flipped out.
He pulled a Christmas Story. Ralphie, there's a present behind the TV.
Exactly. Yeah, and this was before that movie came out. This was before that.
It's a dad thing.
Or like it was definitely before I saw it. Because I remember when I finally saw that movie, I said, "Oh my god." But like I said, they stole this from my dad. But so I remember and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome." So I got it and I was like I couldn't I was just staring at the box. And remember the box of those, even now the day, like they're just like these black boxes these video games come in, and there's not like maybe a couple of little pictures, a small picture on the back of but back then, remember the ColecoVision box would have like every game for it on the back,
a screenshot of
like
every game, and you were like, oh, I want that one, I want that one.
Yeah, and so it was brilliant marketing, because you'd go into the store and when you bought it, you'd like see everything else you needed to buy on it. It was a brilliant marketing. Nowadays, they don't need that kind of stuff. But and I remember, so I was so excited and I was staring at the box for like 15 minutes, and then I'm like, my dad says, well, you never got the bag for this. I really do need the bag. So I said, oh, okay. Well, I said, where is it? I didn't see a bag under there. He goes, oh, that's right. It's all right. It's in that cabinet. So I went in that cabinet and I opened up and there was another box wrap.
Oh.
And it was like a little bit bigger. I'm like, what is this? And it was that ColecoVision like module. That was like the first thing that, they had these modules, and it was the thing where you put in and it could play all the Atari 2600 games.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
So that was in there. And I was like, oh my God. I don't think I knew, because back then I was not as savvy they had like internet. So I didn't know it. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing, because I had my Atari and I'm like, now I can play it all in one shot. So I was all excited about that. And he says, well, you still need to go get the garbage bag. So I went and where he said this time, and then there was two smaller boxes in it, and there were two more, and it was two games. ColecoVision. It came with Donkey Kong, but they bought me, I think it was Zaxxon and something else, another game that was in at the time. I don't remember what.
I always
it was,
wanted
but,
that Smurfs game in Burger Time. That's the.
You know what? That might have been it. It might have been. It maybe. Or no, I don't know if Smurf came out right away. It was Zaxxon for sure, and it was another another launch game was for ColecoVision, and it was that, and I was like, and I said, where's the garbage next bag? He says, and he had it in his hand the whole time. He had a garbage bag nearby, and he's like, that kind of ended the thing.
Awesome.
But like to me, I was just like, it was such a good thing, because it gave me I done stuff like that. Like after that, why I'm telling that one what was so important, because it kind of inspired me to always want to surprise others with gifts. And so I mean there were two things once for Julie. There was these gloves she wanted, and I remember I went to like every store to try and find it. And like I think I found it online, and I paid like $30 to have it overnighted, because it was our first Christmas together, so I made sure that got there. And there was another one for Julie I got where it was like her family, all the daughters got these like really special gold chains from the island her parents came from in the Azores, and they all had these chain. And Julie had seen this when we were in Tiffany's one time. We were walking the city, and she found this little like birthstone thing that was going on, and it's Tiffany's. It's very expensive, but I was like, you know what? This is like one of I wanted to she just wanted it so bad, and I know she didn't buy it for herself, and I know she wanted it. I'm like, I don't care what it costs. I'm going to get it. And I should have known I was in trouble price-wise, but I didn't care, because we go into Tiffany's. And I don't know if you ever bought anything at Tiffany's, but this was the one. And I had to hide the fact that this was before we actually could track each other on the phones at that point. So I had to turn my phone off so she didn't see me like in the town where the Tiffany's on Long Island was, because she would have, what the hell is he doing there?
Yeah.
It would have made, because she, we used to try and time each other so we knew when to get home and do dinner and stuff. So I went in there and I walked into Tiffany and I said, yeah, so this is the thing. I had pulled it up on my phone. I was like, this is what my wife wants on there. Do you have this? She goes, sure. Come on. I just assumed they would go back to get it, but they had me sit down at this desk and start filling out forms.
Oh God. You're like, oh man.
I said, well, and I'm not going to say what to call. I don't care. In the end, it was like, I was, I wanted to give her this really special thing, because I know she wanted it for that chain. And so it was, I got her the birthstone thing. One more final quick one, though, because this is kind of also goes back to my dad's surprise thing. So one year, my youngest brother, Jeremy, it was the year the Furbies came out. and he wanted the Furby. He wanted, like, it was funny too because he wanted it more so because he was not so much that he wanted the Furby itself, but he wanted to like kind of tap into. He was very intelligent he was always a very old soul even as a little kid, and he was so smart, and he wanted to just like tap into technology and try and rewire it. But either way, he was young enough. He was at that borderline age where it might have been a little young for him, but he wanted it so bad. He was so intrigued by it. So, and I was like, it was like the number one toy of the year,
Yeah, you couldn't find them.
You could not find it. But there was a store very similar to Target called Caldor. They're no longer in existence anymore. Basically, all the New York Caldors got replaced by either Kohl's or Targets. But they had an ad, and they said, I remember this, it said, like, tomorrow in store, Furbies, we have limited stock or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, I know enough about collecting, and I know these things. Most people are going to arrive, like, think they could just waltz in at 8 o'clock. I said, I'm getting there right away. And it's funny, this is obviously before I was with Julie. This was years before that. The girl I was dating, I remember we went to the movies or stuff, and I drove by the Caldors. We drove by at like 8 o'clock, and they were still open, but I saw like 2 people online. I said, oh shit, I'm going to have to get on this line like after I like literally drop her home. Like, so I remember I went home and I said, I'm going to have to cut this short tonight because I need to get back all the way back to, and she lives like 20 minutes the opposite way from it. So I went all the way back, and I got there like maybe around like, I think it was right before they closed. I think they closed it. It was a holiday, so they closed it at like 11. So I got there just around 11. They closed it, and there was maybe like 6 people online at that point. So I was like 6th or 7th. I don't remember. And so it was good. I was like, okay, I'm in shape. I'm gonna get one of these. And they're like, and the guy came out. He's like, all right, he goes, tomorrow morning you come in. There's a limit of 2, this, that, and this, and all this stuff. So I was on the line, and, after a while, it was like, you start chatting to the people online, and, especially because the people up front were in much more jovial moods than as the line built towards like 5 a.m., because the people were like 40 deep, okay, this might not be a thing.
So you were there literally all night long.
All night long, waiting online for this, and started chatting to these 2 moms that were there in the line, and they were like, they looked at me, they're like, I could tell at first they looked at me like, oh God, this is going to be one of these scalpers.
Yeah.
God, he's going to buy these and then sell them on eBay, because that was huge at that point. Remember, that was like the tickle me elmo. People sell them out of the backs of cars. Yeah. Remember those days? So I think we just started chatting, and I was like, and they're like, so what do you, I think they kind of humored me. They're like, so what are you buying it for? I said, well, my little brother is like dying for this thing. I never thought he'd want it, or I would have tried to look for this months ago, but he never really asked for something. He's dying for this. And they're like, you're waiting on here for your little brother? And I'm like, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, honestly, I said, like, I didn't think I'd have a chance. I said, but when I saw the line, I said they were coming. I said, what the hell? I said I'm gonna do it. And so they were like, oh, you are so sweet. And then like at one of them left, and they brought me back like coffee and a bagel. They were like, we just think you were the sweetest guy to do this for your little brother, so we thought you'd want some coffee and bagel, and like, I knew you couldn't leave the line because they were in pairs, so one could leave the line and hold the place, so it was easy. I was there by myself at that point, because I think I was just starting to date that girl. I was not going to pull her into that madness. So they brought that, and I thought it was great. So nevertheless, we got in, and I was able to get 2. I was walked out with them, because my brother decided because I think the funny thing is he wanted to. Because they talk to each other, so that's why they made the limit 2, because they knew people wanted the gimmick of it. And I remember I walked out with this thing, and I felt so horrible. But because I saw some like grandfather walk in, but he walked in with the kid and said, "Oh, well, let's go get the Furby," not realizing there was a line of like 100 people.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I said, this is horrible. Part of me wanted to if I would have had more than what I went in there for, I still feel guilty. It's funny to this day that I should have like told my brother, just give he got one, it's good, and then give that. But I think I think what happened, but I'm like, why would you show up with your kid there? But I feel bad because it was an older grandfather, probably doesn't understand like the craziness of what happens in these stores, So so I got that, but then on top of it, so I was secretly I knew he'd wanted it at this point, and so I was like kind of fishing to him to say what do you want, what do you want for Christmas, Jeremy? It's like, and he goes, well, and I said, he kind of mentioned Furby, but he's like, I really want the Game Boy Color, which came out that year. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Because now that is literally the second hardest, I think, toy of that year. So, but I managed to find out from a leak through the KB when they were getting that in. And I was able to get that also.
Dang, you're a great big brother.
So I literally got the 2 hardest toys of the year for him. And like, I remember the look on his face. He was like, he could not believe that he literally got the 2 hardest toys of the year. And he was so excited. And it made me feel so good because I was like, I took something from okay, my being spoiled as a kid, but I kind of channeled it for something good.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that goes right back to what I'm saying. Like, the gifts that you had to work the hardest to get are the most rewarding to give, because it's not like you went online and just bought a gift card or something.
No, I could. You don't understand. I couldn't. I was counting the days to the holiday. I could not wait to surprise him with it. You know, I'm like, I can't wait till he sees this, because he'll never expect, let alone one of these items, but the second, both of them. And it was definitely probably blew my holiday budget that year by a much, but it's he's my littlest brother, and and I spoiled my other brothers too with stuff, so it's not like I didn't ever spoil it with other brothers too, but and I was just so excited to get that, so it's I know, sorry that went on a little long, but I had to set up the proper tale.
No,
for that,
it was it's like a Last Action Hero kind of not what am I trying to say? Jingle All the Way.
They jingle all the way, yeah.
It's like a Jingle All the Way story. So yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
He got 2. He got 2.
Yeah. So guys. Again, I want to say thank you to all our listeners for sticking with us through. I know this was kind of a tumultuous year. I know our schedule was really crazy this year with the move and my stuff and Brian's stuff, and we kind of got off kilter a little bit there, but you guys stuck with us, and we really appreciate that. And I hope
and what an ending to the year, though. We had a lot of great guests.
Oh, so many great guests. I was really thankful that we got to have so many great interviews to kind of wrap up the year. And I thought we had a great summer slaycation, even though it took way longer to finish than we at first anticipated. But I'm hoping
just because it blended into the fall.
Who cares?
Can tell these days.
But I hope season 8's going to be even better, and think now that things have kind of settled down a little bit, hopefully with our moves and things, that we'll have a more consistent season 8. And I'm hoping the interviews keep going. Like we said last episode, we're definitely going to.
Well, we already have one lined up for right after.
We haven't even stopped on the interviews. We still have those lined up. Like we said last episode, we're definitely going to do some crossover episodes with some other podcasts. Yes. We're going to do some more round tables. I definitely want to get that stuff going, because I think that to me is the next. That's the next level of Civil Gore is getting beyond just me and Brian talking, and getting bringing other people in that you can listen to and take a break from our voices for a little while. So I hope.
Well, especially at least mine. Tim's probably people could. Tim, they probably listen to you on repeat. Me, they probably they treat it like Last Christmas from Wham. So But yeah, no, I definitely think you do that. I'm actually my current computer is starting to show signs of me working it to death. It literally is not holding a charge very well anymore. And so it happened to be the one I had my eye on, just released the newer version, and somehow it's cheaper than the other model and better. So I may be ordering that too, and because that'll give me a lot of more video editing capability, because I like to do more video stuff, really get our YouTube stuff going. Be able to kind of have more because really we're if you look at other podcasts, we're way behind in that kind of stuff, but we kind of consistently stayed audio and not really had a lot of video. I'd like to get more video involved and more things where it's to just even post more video, but to edit quality videos up.
And see, Brian, I'm not a video guy, I'm not a video editor, but Brian does. Brian knows all that stuff, so he could actually put together some cool videos for us. So that'd be a great distribution of duties. Because I could do the audio.
Yeah, because Tim does such an amazing job.
I could do the audio editing, but the video, man, I'm a complete novice at video editing.
Yeah, but I have to say, and this is a good time to tell you too, the editing Tim does. Sometimes literally we finish this episodes down to the. Because we just do scheduling, and he's literally editing things the night after we record it to get it out the next day for everybody. So sometimes we don't really mention it a lot, but the stuff that Tim does to get this podcast out on time, because he handles all that stuff, making sure it's on Libsyn, making sure it gets updated. And I remember even with his struggles with stupid Twitter where they don't let you, it doesn't link anymore. We have to manually do it. He always makes sure he has the episode ready and ready to go on time, which is amazing.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Yeah, and Brian does a fantastic job with all our social media. Like, he's always keeping us in contact with our PR folks. Like, that's all Brian on that side, doing the handling the social media accounts and reaching out to other people and all that stuff. And he's the one that's getting us these fantastic interviews every time and getting them scheduled. So again, I think we're a pretty good team.
I was going to say that we're saving duties already. We're a pretty good team. And if we did not put a planes, trains, and automobiles reference in there, we'd have to, it wouldn't quite be the same. No.
So anyway, again, thank you for all of our guests we've had on this year that have come on the show to promote their stuff or just to chat, hang out and chat. It's been wonderful content for the show. Can't thank you enough for that. And again, thank you to our listeners who, without the listeners giving us feedback and sending us emails and stuff, we probably would have quit the show 5 seasons ago because we originally had planned to stop at 100 episodes and be done with it, but you guys definitely
you remember our first format idea was let's just do the top 100 horror movies and
and I thought that was reaching to even make it 100 episodes. I thought, well, that's kind of a crazy, that's kind of biting off a big big challenge there, but here we are, almost 300 episodes in. Actually, we're technically, spoiler alert, we're way over 300 because
if you count
dismemberments and minisodes, we don't number the dismemberments anymore, and the minisodes and like bonus interviews and stuff. We're kind of way over 300, but we'll have an official episode 300 party or whatever.
Yeah, which will be coming up next season, so that'll be fun. Get some plans in there, and an extra little thank you to our fellow podcasters out there, whether it's horror related or not, just ones we listen to and everything, because the inspiration and the support we get from other podcasts too is huge, because the podcasting community is really a good community.
Yes. I love that everybody. We've said it before. I mean, there's no competition among podcasters. At least not that I've ever seen. We all support each other.
Yeah, and if you go in with that, then you're not in the right. You're not doing it right. No. I'm sorry. I love to support new podcasts when they come out. I love to share. I love to send them a nice word, because I remember just when we got our first, I think it was Cody, right? Was the first person to send us something to say how much they liked the podcast, and it I still remember that feeling. It blew me away. I'm like, wow, what? Look, it kind of just. It was just one kind little word to say that, say something makes all the difference, because it really gives you that drive to keep going.
Yeah, and I try to do that with podcasts that I enjoy. I always try to reach out and say, hey, I really like this episode, or I really like this, because I think that stuff's important, because you're always going to hear the negatives, but you're rarely ever going to hear the positive. That's just how kind of the world works. You're always going to get the bad reviews, but you're not going to see the good ones. Yeah. So I think it's always important to spread kindness in the world. You can be a critic, but I prefer to keep my negative opinions to myself and just try to spread the positive. So if you guys have any negative opinions of Civil War, that's not to say just keep them to yourself. We're all
if you find something corrected,
we're always up for constructive criticism. It sounded like I was leading into, so shut your mouth if you have anything. No, I'm not. I'm not saying that.
Don't you dare!
We love you guys, and we always take everything you say. Any suggestions for the show or whatever, we will gladly act upon it. So I'm hoping season 8 is going to be the best season of Civil War yet. And I hope you guys have a really safe and wonderful holiday. Spend time with your families. Have fun. Do something you enjoy every single day. I think that's important. I think every single day, even if it's the smallest thing, do something you enjoy that you can look forward to that day. I think that's what keeps you going. Again,
well said, Tim.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for all the support you've had for the show over the years, and we'll keep on trucking in 2024.
Yes. See you then, and enjoy.